Hi, and welcome to Transitional Changes Mission Podcast Show. This is your host, Queen Summers.
And your host, King Summers.
We have a very great show for you guys tonight, and we want to talk about an industry that is somewhat a lot of questions and a lot of opinions. And so we have someone who is very familiar with the industry with us tonight, and we're going to get into that. So since the early days of cannabis activism, there have been many people who have taken up the cause, pushing for better policies and legislation for safer and healthier growing practices, and working on advanced technology, growing practices, and processing options. Truly, the world of cannabis has exploded in just the last 10 years alone. So Transitional Changes Mission Inc. wanted to highlight what we consider the new class of the cannabis industry. And from that industry tonight, we have special guest speaker, Queen Amanda Munchies from the Bud Card Show. Thank you so much for visiting us tonight, Amanda Munchies.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And just to the audience, we appreciate you taking the time out to listen to this show. Hopefully, the name of this show links up to what we are doing right now, and that is to expand everybody's mind. The name of the show is Expanding the Mind, and that's exactly what we're finna do and gain some knowledge. We pray that you embrace this knowledge and open your mind. And we got a great guest here.
Well, my name is Amanda Munchies. I am owner of the Bud Card and host of the Bud Show. The Bud Card is a national VIP cannabis community. We help connect consumers, aka patients, to quality cannabis companies and help them save on their purchases when they buy from them. And then on the flip side, as a business in this industry, we know how hard it can be. So we created a community for our partnering businesses to really support one another, collaborate together, and leverage things like their buying power.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what state are you in, Mrs. Munchies?
Yes, absolutely. We are out of the state of Arizona, but we are a national organization. So we like to travel. As far as the Bud Show, we like to go to other states and interview amazing people in the cannabis industry. We're everywhere.
All right.
That's good. And you show enough with us at Transitional Changes Mission. Anybody have any input that would like to touch on and have any questions to Queen Amanda, please write us at tcmissionspeaks@gmail.com.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about the industry for those out there who are not really familiar with the cannabis industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you a little bit from my perspective. Cannabis has been around for centuries. It's been around for probably longer than we even know.
Right.
And I myself have been using it for a good 25 years.
Okay.
But even when I started using it, cannabis wasn't legal. So we were buying on the streets from people, and you didn't have choice in what your medicine was, and there wasn't testing, and there certainly wasn't the selection that there is today.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, the good old United States has done a great job at starting to legalize cannabis. And I'm pretty sure California was the first state. I could be wrong on that, but I'm 90% sure California was the first state.
Yes, they was first.
Yes. And Arizona actually did medical marijuana about 10 years ago.
Yep.
And only recently with Prop 207 have we become adult use, also known as recreational, some people. And so just going from a black market entirely to now having this be a legal thing is 100% a difference. However, we still have a long way to go. And I say that because we still have people in prison for this plant. We still have corporations making a lot of the rules behind this plant.
Right.
And we still don't have it legalized across the United States. So in my opinion, until those three things are done, we really haven't, it's not really fully celebratable yet.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. And I know Virginia on the East Coast have just recently opened up to legalization in Virginia. So hopefully, more and more states will begin to jump on the bandwagon, because it's a little too late to turn around now.
And so what I would ask you, Queen Amanda, what is some of the benefits from Arizona making it legalized, and how you involved with the legalization of it within your community? Have you seen a change?
Well, I'm going to be honest. So again, I wasn't for Prop 207, which is what made it adult use. I was actually against Prop 207, and there's many reasons why I was against it, and some of them were what I just named. So, for example, there's just still a lot of gray in the state of Arizona. So the good part about it is now people that were afraid to get their medical marijuana card, or maybe hesitant to try this, now it's legal and they can step into that area. But we still, again, have this whole gray area where you still have people incarcerated for this plant. Meanwhile, corporations are making billions of dollars.
Right.
We still have in the state of Arizona, they add a 16% tax to adult use patients.
Oh.
And that money is actually, it's interesting how it's divided up, but some of that actually goes to the police. And so for me, I have a problem with that because we still haven't figured out things like DUIs for cannabis.
Okay.
So now we're funding them to use that money potentially against us, in my opinion. And there's also no education. So, and I don't know if this is like this in every state, but I would guess that it's probably pretty similar. So there's no billboard saying cannabis is a plant, cannabis is medicine. There's nothing that's re-educating the minds of people who have been brainwashed for generations about this plant. And so we just have a long way to go. I think we're making huge strides, but if we're going across the football field, we're only at the 10-yard line. We got 90 more to go.
And that's one of the reasons why I led up to that question, because and we pray that it helps some people understand a little bit more about the legalizations of cannabis. But with that, even we are located in North Carolina, it's illegal here. But as I've seen the news and media covering when Colorado opened up and started expanding, I think it's to this day, I don't know if it's banks want to take the funds. I mean, it's all kind of taxes, high taxes, and it's kind of hard for people to get into that even when the city or state open up to
100%.
letting it.
Yeah, you are right on.
And I think that, by you explaining that, it's a lot of loopholes. This one, like I said, from me hearing it. Is that true?
Yeah. So, and just to touch on that, I mean, I have a business, it's called the Bud Card. We don't actually touch cannabis. I don't grow cannabis. I don't sell cannabis, not CBD, not THC, none of those things. I'm kind of like a middleman marketing person who helps get our consumers discounts at places. So then they go in to the store, just like if they went to the grocery store with a coupon. Okay. And we struggled with banking. That was really hard. And even when we got banking, they wanted to charge us the prices that they charge dispensaries. No way as a small business can I pay what a dispensary is paying to bank.
Right.
As far as getting processing, so someone to actually process credit card payments, extremely hard to do. That took about 2 years actually for my business to be able to get processing. Okay. And even with tools like PayPal, before setting that up, I went through all the roles of making sure they wouldn't shut down my account. And I want to say like maybe 9 months in, all of a sudden they shut down my account. And so again, no processing allowed at that point. PayPal was the only one that would take, funds. They shut me down. Well, then as a cannabis related business, I'm dead in the water. I have no way to do business.
Right.
And so, and it's also similar with cannabis events. So a lot of people like to use platforms like Eventbrite, but if you do a cannabis event on Eventbrite, they can actually freeze all your funds. They can refund any money to people who bought it and then like freeze your account and not let you use it. So I think people just don't realize a lot of these barriers until they step into the place and are trying to do it.
Would you say that the state that opened the car, I think I was talking a couple of years ago, I don't know if he was saying it true or not, but he was from Colorado. He was saying that with making it legal, a lot of that money from the taxation went to the school, and they say the state made $8 billion off of it.
Yes.
Does that?
Yes.
In a positive way, help the communities in a way?
Yeah, so definitely I believe some of the 16% goes to community colleges here in the state of Arizona, which I think is a great start.
Yeah.
But again, I think we're still a long way. Like we're not educating those platforms about taking this money, and those platforms still are anti-cannabis. So if you had pot on a community college campground, you could still get expelled, yet they'll take money from legislation. So again, there's just still a lot of like gray area that I think people don't realize. Like, yes, there's lots of pros and tons of benefits of it happening. But I just think there's still, with every pro, there's almost like a couple cons behind it. Like, hey, we're still here.
Right.
And I think Colorado differs from Arizona also, because if you go to Colorado, there's a dispensary on every corner. In the state of Arizona, we're actually limited to the number of dispensaries we can have. And those are chosen through like a monopoly system, which you have to be able to pay to play in to begin with. So it's a really interesting system. So I can't just go start a dispensary. And I think and again, I don't know exactly the rules in Colorado, but I know for sure in Colorado there are way more dispensaries than there are.
Yes.
Well, I would say, I would say that I give y'all hooray, because where we in North Carolina, the Bible State, if we just get one dispensary in the whole state, this is the Bible State, and that's one reason why we had to show up, my people, is that hopefully by Amanda Munches being here and explaining, we are expanding people's minds, because it is a history that confuses me when they made, I think it was during the Prohibition period when alcohol and tobacco and all of them was on the front line, and they chose the most deadliest drug out here, and it's at every convenience store. And to me, that's alcohol and cigarettes.
Yeah.
But they snapping fingers.
The main expansion of that is to convert people into Bible states, which is kind of hard, but it's I believe it's on the legislation. Is that right?
Yes, yes, it's on the legislation. Now, what I wanted to ask you about, Miss Amanda Munchies, when people get a curiosity about cannabis, how would you explain to them how to start off?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think everyone needs to understand that cannabis is a plant. So this is plant medicine. So that's the number one thing I think anyone, when looking at cannabis, to start thinking about. This is not a drug. You really have to change our mindset from this is a drug to this is plant medicine. So that's the first thing, is before even starting to look at products or anything, I would start to change mindset of how you look at the plant. And then when you're starting to dive into cannabis, there's two different types of major components that come to cannabis. And there's way more than that, but THC and CBD are like the two main endocannabinoids that are talked about. And the difference between those two is that THC is going to have that psychoactive effect. You're going to get high, that head change. Or CBD is going to have all these beneficial effects to you and your body. However, you're not going to feel that head high. So it's a great product to use. CBD can have a small amount of THC in it, like less than, well, at least in the state of Arizona, less than 0.03%. And that's not going to get you high though. However, if you worked for like some type of high place that does a lot of drug testing and you were worried, then you would want to stick to CBD isolate. Well, no, you could still use CBD, but you just want to, it's called CBD isolate. And what that means is they isolated the CBD so that the only thing that is in it is CBD. There's no other parts of the plant. And then once you start there, I recommend THC, but I also recommend having products on hand that will help you. So for example, there's a product called Undo. Undo is an amazing product. It does two things. It can help reset your tolerance if you medicate all the time, but also for those first time smokers, if you medicate and you get that like, oh my God, I'm going to die feeling, you take 2 Undo and then you drink a glass of water and like 10 to 15 minutes later, you're fine. Body still has all the benefits of the medicine, but you don't have that head high feeling anymore.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask another question. That is wonderful. There has been news reports through a health food industry that is making, I believe, tea. And these types of teas are for holistic purposes, but they are now showing up on what you just said about the companies that drug test the people, and the people's drug testers are coming out as positive.
Yeah, because they're drinking a lot of coffee. So my mom's a perfect example. She drinks a CBD coffee line. And she drinks it, like once she tried this, she will not drink store-bought coffee anymore. So if that's not an isolate coffee, and again, she's drinking it every single day, that's going to build up in her system. So if she were to do a drug test and they're looking for THC, because it might have a small trace in it, then she very well could test positive. Again, part of that is us changing that stigma where jobs shouldn't even be testing to see if we have THC in our system, because THC stays in your system for 30 days or more. Not you, but a person could do a line of Coke and 2 or 3 days later, they're fine. Cocaine. But if I smoke a joint at night to relieve pressure or pain or help me with cancer or any other thing that I might have, I don't have cancer, but just saying, anything else that I might have, then I could lose my job. That's insane. I could get a DUI. Those things are crazy.
And you know that by you saying it, what Queen Summers was saying in North Carolina, there's I think it's an open class act suit that's coming up on this tea company. It's exactly how you're saying, how the media is not on the side yet, but I'm assuming in Arizona they don't talk like that. And our media is different from y'all.
People like the drama and THC, because we're not educating that it's a plant and that it's not a drug, that it's medicine, then you're still going to have uneducated people, whether it's in our news places or our doctor's offices or our police stations or in our schools teaching our children. And for me, like, that's scary, I think, for moms.
Very
scary.
You
got kids still being taught DARE when mom uses cannabis for, XYZ.
the people that's against it need to open their mind up to be more mature about it.
Yeah.
Because the word said for itself, recreation. Mm-hmm. It's just like when a person get off from 8 hours from work, they go to a store and buy a 6-pack and go home and drink that 6-pack. But they say, be mature enough to know that this is going to cause you to get drunk. Do not drive.
Or even just going to the store and getting scratch-off tickets.
Yeah,